and Year of Living Johnny Dangerously. Ice holes out. Okay. So, the Johnny Dangerous, I'm just entertaining myself with that because that's a movie from over 40 odd years ago with Michael Keaton, Johnny Dangerously. It was, a purely schlocky slapstick movie that had no redeeming quality, uh, any more than an episode of the Three Stooges or Monty Python was more seemed more high-minded because the language was better. But that's where that was my happy place when I was a younger person. And I think that if I'm just guessing that Johnny Dangerously was probably right around right, the aforementioned beginning of Reagan too. So it was mid '80s maybe. And there was a character, a mob boss named Maroney, uh, who um, who just could not pronounce his couldn't do his words well. And it wasn't that they were picking on one particular national origin. With a name like Moroni, obviously there was a callback to the Italian infrastructure of organized crime in the United States and in the bootlegging, etc. But Mr. Moroni would, people would be, uh, he would just twist words all upside down in a silly, not, this is not high drama. This is not what guys did, the Shakespearean actors did on their day off. This was silly shit, but a little bit of silliness right now is not a bad idea. We're going into the weekend, and you need your escapism. So if you want to see the silly kind of shit that I was watching 40 odd years ago, just check out Johnny Dangerously with Michael Keaton and look for the mob boss casino owner named Maroney, and see if you can even get a smile out of the entire thing because it is it is impossibly ridiculous and also has some probably, so as many old pieces of quote unquote art do, some language that might not be processed quite as favorably or viewed quite as favorably as it is back as it was back then. But one of the words that he had a tough time with was asshole, and God knows we have enough of those to deal with right now. And he mispronounced it ice hole, and that just makes me think, get some digging deep for some way to get a bit of delight in a very tough time. Just as I was doing kind of my running man in yesterday's essay, and the idea of selling tickets to a cruise ship where you get a sniper rifle and night vision goggles, and you get to participate with some coaching and with Stephen Miller and your illustrious Secretary of Defense, Pistol Pete Hegseth, in shooting moving targets at night with night vision goggles out in the Caribbean. Which what could be a better getaway for the MAGA supporters, the folks that are still holding on, the ones that haven't come back to humanity, the ones that couldn't see what happened to Renee Good, what happened to Alex Preddy, and come back and say, "Oh my God, I can't," you know, good Lord, they know not what they, that having that moment 10 effing bullets in a man that had been disarmed, if that doesn't bring you back, you've got you've got much bigger problems than you should deal with as an individual. You need professional help. You need a lot of help. You need to send your children away to live with your parents or put them in foster care, and you need to get yourself rehumanized. So we've gotten Johnny Dangerously, we've got Ice Holes, and the one of the real inspiring getting cold. One of the great inspirations of the last few days is this. After Tim Cook's embarrassment in the we know about the premiere of the Melania, the Bezos Amazon Melania silliness that they paid her a ridiculous amount of money for a ridiculous schlocky uh, film about being Melania or whatever the f, and that Tim Cook had the bad judgment and temerity to attend that just hours after Alex Preddy was killed, so that he decided, not like, oh, if you heard about it, that's bullshit. Not buying that at all. That any of those the clowns, the lady from AMD, and or any of the other attendees, that they went there, it just makes them horrible human beings. And I know that they feel that if they don't suck up to Trump, that they're hurting their business. If that's their answer, that means they haven't given it a great deal of thought. They haven't said, they have strategists, they have PR, they have lots of lawyers. The government doesn't have many lawyers left because they fired all of the inspectors general and the JAGs and all of the people that are supposed to tell them when they're doing stupid shit. But you know that Tim Cook, that DJ Jazzy Jeff Bezos, and all of those, tech bros is hard when we're talking about guys that are, approaching my age. But we have to put them in some basket just to keep their stink off of anything else that we own. They've got plenty of competent legal counsel, and they talk to each other, and they know, and they can count billions, like what they have in the bank. That they know that this administration, whatever the threat of JD Vance not actually moving to Germany to join the actual Nazi party, that what if we stand up now and it's another Republican administration? That isn't the way to go about it. It's what you stand to lose in 2 years and 11 months, or such earlier time as Trump is forced out of office because of health, some other infirmity, or legal issues, or whatever it should be. That, Mark Andreessen, right, is one of the premier money guys in Silicon Valley. He is Silicon Valley, the Silicon Valley money guy, right? He's fully Trump aligned. He had his feelings hurt by the Biden administration about them being too mean to tech, AI, and crypto, and he's another guy that has grievance issues. I feel really bad for him, right? He's only got a couple billion. He's not in the same category as Elon, as Bezos, as Mr. Daddy and little boy TikTok, the Ellisons, Larry and the son. Yeah. Son Ellison, that that is still fighting with Netflix about Paramount. So I lump those guys into the tech pros too because these are people that we need as consumers, as Americans, as human beings. We need them to step up. We don't need them to lead the charge alone into the White House and jump on Donald Trump and scream at him. That's not how things are done. I mean, that's how Donald Trump does things. But I mean, in the real world, that isn't the way that things are done. But these, if these guys would sit down around, I promise, Elon's out. Elon is he's toast. He will continue to be the first or second richest man in the world. Doesn't mean that he has to be the first or second most powerful man in the world, because we have a lot of say about that. You know, there are a lot of people that give voice to people like that. Ellison, I spent about an hour today just engaging with people on TikTok, asking about their experience with the platform since the quote unquote handover, which is only means that the controls regarding the advertising revenue on the American version of the platform, the licensed version of TikTok, is in the hands of the Ellisons. But the ultimate control of the algorithm remains fully in control of the Chinese Communist Party. How does that, which, and then you get into the which is worse? Which is worse? Would look at the midterm elections. It's fucking cold out there. The midterm elections, what is your worst nightmare scenario? Is it TikTok fully in the hands of Ellison and Trump, or TikTok algorithm and otherwise fully in the hands of Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party? How about both? So you got both. Congratulations. And yeah, we did a really great job with that. And that's, Donald Trump just walked us right into it against the ruling of the Supreme Court, against the findings and rulings of the Congress, the once proud U.S. Congress, who are still hiding under John Thune, my boy, my homie. You're still hiding, right? Okay. So there is not a lot of courage out there, but it has to start somewhere. And these tech people, I'm not bros. These are people that work for a living, and they got together, and there's a petition that is ice out. It has a longer name. Says, get ice out of our cities, or something like that. I'm the guy on the podcast. I would know the exact language, but it's ice out petition, right? And it's been signed. It's just started this week, and after a slow kind of rollout, and people are scared. If I'm a senior guy at a tech firm, and I want to go and do my own gig, my own startup in working after 2 more years with Google, and I'm the guy leading the charge. I get kicked to the curb. Not, I don't think Google will kick them to the curb, but some other firm. Mark Andreessen picks up the phone and say, "Hey, Joe Smith, the guy that's leading the charge on that petition, he's making Donald very sad right now. That's my friend Donald Trump, and he's sad. And he called me, and he wants that guy fired. Or the next time you need to raise $1 billion, go talk to somebody else." Now, I would say that everybody should try to talk to some other private equity or source of funding, any other firm besides Andreessen's firm, right? Andreessen Horowitz is a massive player, but much like Larry Ellison and some of the other folks, the Palantir folks, they gotta go. That's not me saying that doesn't mean they're going to be starving and having a hard time feeding their kids. It means that collective action has to work right now. And these brave young tech people, and hopefully the AI people, the ones that really have they have the juice. What suffers in situations like this is talent, or excuse me, the firms that are looking for top talent. And if you are a transcendent AI expert, genius, programmer, dot dot dot, and you're looking around at where you want to work, and you say, "Well, I just got an offer from firm X, which is they're spending 50% of their time helping ICE hunt down people and kill them." Right? I am I am a premier talent and in demand. I can pick where I'm going to work. I'm not going to go work for those people. And that's this year and next year and in the next administration. You know, that's why the collective action is collective memory too, and why we don't do a one hit wonder on such things and we drill them home. So I'll shoot a link either with this episode or later tonight when I going out the door in a few minutes to walk the little commander, the four-legged assassin, and then on with Friday. Yeah, that we need to hold them to account, and it's hard as individuals. You say to yourself, "What can I do?" These guys are not. They're not just billionaires. Yeah, the baby has his gloves on. Yeah, that's. Go ahead, say it. We're not going to do it as individuals. We're not going to be able to push back, slap back, punch back against these clowns, against JD Vance, against Elon Musk, against Mark Andreessen. As individuals, there's little we can do because we don't have even people with, with 9-digit bankrolls are underfunded by the measure of in comparison to these Trump clowns, these obsequious bootlicking Trumpafants they're disgusting. And it gets worse every day that it goes on. Trump was on today in the cabinet room, or I don't know if it was in a meeting room or in the Oval, but he was after making these noises about I'm going to tune things up in I'm sending the kava bag guy to fix things in Minnesota, and I'm going to execute Bovino and all the I'm going to clean it up, and then he obviously somebody got in his ear like Stephen Miller, one of the true Russell Vogt, who is banging the drum on Project 2025 every single day to the president. So, Mr. President, you can't back up. You have to keep fighting, because if you give them an inch, then these radical liberal terrorists, whatever they are going to run over you, and you'll lose in the midterm, and then you'll be, impeached. And though I know, just because it's human nature, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have, excuse me, I'm talking in the cold. You don't have to be sitting in the room to know what they're going to do today. You just have to look at what they did and said yesterday and the day before that and the day before that, because it's a pattern. What is a pattern? Yeah, all right, exactly. So he's getting in his ear, well, Mr. President, what you did, you walked it back a little bit much on Minneapolis because, you know, Alex Preddy, 2 weeks before we put 7 bullet holes in him and then found the 7 bullet holes before rendering any medical assistance, which is what happened. He kicked the taillight of an ICE vehicle 2 weeks ago. So he's obviously planning to assassinate the president of the United States. If he's kicking the taillight, it was a justified killing. All 10 bullets, Mr. President. So Trump today or last night was on camera again saying elections have consequences, right? So he is kind of doubling back and saying, "Hey, I didn't mean that I was going to back off. I'm going to just I presumably put fewer bullets into the next citizen that we kill, either in Minneapolis or otherwise." They're backing off in Maine. Susan Collins, as usual, has shit herself quite completely again. And as she always does, when there is a serious issue that needs to be addressed, she's almost excuse me. Oh, that water's cold. She's almost become Susan Collins from Maine, the senator, is almost a caricature of herself now about, when people say, well, we'll have to study it, or I'm going to have to issue a stern warning because I'm very disappointed with their behavior. And then she walks off and doesn't do shit. Right. And so hopefully that our we won't call them Nazi tattoos, our German affinity tattooed oyster fisherman Graham Plattner versus the former governor, all the people that are doing those things in Maine. But that's a consequential pickup if the Democrats can get that seat. That matters a whole bunch. So I'm going to just touch on the petition one more time and a couple quick thoughts, and I'm going to get the heck inside. Beautiful though. Oh my, yeah. Good to be alive, and when you're this cold, you're alive because you're feeling it. So we support these people. How do we support these young tech professionals? If you're in the tech industry and want to sign the petition, please do. You can wait for me to send it, but my fingers aren't working right now. So the ice out or the dot get ice out of Minnesota dot tech, whatever that is. It's a petition. Sign it. And think of the things that we talk about all the time, the collective action. And there are a whole host of companies now that have put themselves out there and deserving of a little collective action. And you could certainly say, now, I know you live in a place, the only way you can get food delivered for your kids is Amazon. Then guess what? You're going to use Amazon. I'm not saying that's a bad thing if it's your only option. But for those with other options, got in our family, like so many others in the COVID period, got not lazy, but you start to rely on the convenience of Amazon, and then the other companies that had to try to compete with Amazon with the free shipping and all of that, and which is killing all of them except for Walmart. And then Target, of course, went out and stepped on their own micro with the whole DEI pullback. And again, that they pulled back, they got hammered. They're not backing down on that anywhere near enough. So the Target needs to be hammered for years, for years. You've got mega people that will support them for that decision. That's, used to be a fair country. So you do, if you support what ICE is doing and you think that DEI, if you understand what it actually means, you spend a minute thinking about it, right? It could be if you have a daughter who's competing in the workforce and you want her to be able to get paid the same as her equally qualified male counterpart. Guess what that is? Equity and inclusion. Maybe your daughter is as white as Christmas, right? So you say, well, diversity. That means you mean we got to start paying black and brown people the same as paying white people? What's that all about? Well, you know what I mean. There are folks like that out there, and we just have to acknowledge the fact that look at the percentage of the popular vote that Donald Trump got. There's some of them like, no, I'm voting my pocketbook. If I carried a pocketbook, that would be weird. No judgment. But those people we've talked about in this format before is like, well, my 401k will be doing much better because Donald Trump is in the Republican tax policy and da, 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 da. Fine, not fine, was fine. You voted. Your guy won. Excellent job. Wonderful handicapping. Love your pick in the Super Bowl, which is a reminder that I'm going to tackle sports betting, I guess, tomorrow. And on this format, because it's really disturbing the heck out of me to read all the stories about kids, and a poll in a high school that said that in a class where all of the boys were below the legal gambling age in this state, which I'm blanking on because I'm freaking cold. Of all of the boys in the class, maybe it was 30 or 40 that were polled, 70% of them had placed a sports bet. Time frame? Have they done it over a year? Did they do it last night? Don't recall. I don't care. They're which a breaking news. If you're not, if you're new to the world of sports betting, there are now and have been for years offshore books. Right, there are books that are run out of Nevis, depending on what side of the island you're from, and in other Costa Rica and other places where before legal sports betting, you could hypothetically place a wager for a fair amount of money and get paid. Comparing it to the current sports books, it was sometimes easier to get paid because they limit you so hard in the U.S. sports books now that there are a lot of places you get hypothetically if you're a regular player that you're getting. We'll be happy to take your business. You can bet up to $1 on this. So in any case, that's why one hypothetically would compete in handicapping contests that are managed under the laws of offshore places. Hypothetically. So collective action. We're going to get in there. We're going to do those things. We're going to, as we talked about, get our family and friends, make sure they're registered, make sure that they're signed up. If it's different in your jurisdiction, to be registered, and you have to go back and confirm that you're still signed up for mail-in voting, if that's separate from your normal registration, do that. Do that. That's you doing your part by making a phone call and sending 3 emails, and that's it, right? But I'm gonna, the tough ask that I just kind of jumped off of was, am I suggesting that we should all throw away our iPhones and say "F you, Tim Cook, F Apple"? It would be fun. It would be great. It would be fun. I'd love to do it. Love to see it. Love to watch it. Love to hear the love to hear the Susan Collins is ish esque. Excuse me. Ice forming in glass. That's cool. Cool. That the excuses. Well, shareholder value. Haven't you ever read Milton Freeman before in your life? Yeah, been dead for a long time. And when he was alive, what he was saying was fucking bullshit. Yeah, you do. You're a CEO. You do have a responsibility to shareholders because how else are you going to raise money to expand? I understand. I mean, I read a lot. I went to school. Didn't always pay attention, but I mean, I did the thing. I did the law school. All that stuff. I learned a little bit. I read a little bit now. I'm really old, but I'm not dead yet. Not so far. It is not the time or the place to be extolling the virtues of Milton Freeman and the importance of shareholder value when the corrupt administration in the United States is weaponizing your tax dollars against your best interests, against the interest of our friends and our family, visitors. Last thing, and I'll, because this was really funny. Sepp Blatter, who the former head of FIFA, a man that there are not many people as corrupt as the Trump organization right now, but Sepp Blatter is in that same ballpark. He was the head of FIFA, accused and convicted of lots of dirty dealing deeds, many of them having to do um, with the last World Cup and Qatar, and just a mess, delightful mess, but just a complete people. I mean, people died building stadiums. That isn't good. But watching this guy, who was a bad guy, who was punished for it, and now he's standing up and saying that people should boycott World Cup 2026 because he's probably not getting paid off. That Trump hasn't, written him a check to be quiet yet. That's probably coming. Um, and the gentleman that is co-authored, he's a famous Swiss attorney and has a boutique anti-corruption firm. I'll send a note about him. He does some really interesting work. I mean, if you work on the FIFA beat, that's an entire career talking about corruption. But in any case, the fingers are just starting to throb right around now. So collective action, do what you can. These idiots if you need to know who they are again, as painful as it is, look back on the frozen mouth, the inauguration, the tech people that were in attendance. You won't need to put them on the FU list. Those are the guys, right? Mark Zuckerberg, Jeffy, DJ Jazzy Jeff Bezos, always Elon. If you can, figuratively speaking, if you can burn somebody's Tesla, I don't advocate violence. I don't advocate destruction of property. That would be irresponsible. just as you know, I wouldn't hold a Marlin rifle on the deck of a ship and shoot at anything going through the water unless perhaps it had MAGA written on the side. Then we can talk. Wishing you all a beautiful evening. It's been fun, and I'm going to take one glove off and try to turn this off without knocking it over. And we'll be back with you tomorrow. Maybe it'll be the sports betting or something else because there's so much crazy news. You just never know. Thank you very much.